Good morning, Oracles, and happy Monday. This is the week that we are going to be getting the annual shareholder meeting. So that is coming up on Thursday. It is going to be after hours. So that's going to be very exciting. Don't know what's going to happen. In the past, we have found out some information. So are we going to continue this rally that we have been on through Thursday? We don't know. Obviously, nobody knows the future, but based upon some of the information that we have from the weekend, looking at crypto tends to lead the whole entire macro environment wherever we're going to go. So I've been tracking it. It's been a leading indicator, and crypto over the weekend has basically been flat, sold off a little bit overnight. So in turn, Tesla has followed that down about 0.5% at the time of this recording. There's not a lot going on in the macro environment until we get CPI data coming out on August 10th. So this week could be relatively quiet in the macro unless some random stuff pops up. Other news that we had that could indicate some movements in the stock is Cathie Wood sold out 32,000 shares on Friday. Now, she's not always right, but over the past year, when she has sold out, that has been relatively near the top, and then it has come down, and then she bought back in near the bottom. Now again, timing is almost impossible to hit the exact tops and bottoms, but she did a pretty darn good job of getting close. So is this an indication that perhaps we're coming down? So we discussed it on the live stream yesterday, and someone had brought it up and mentioned that we discussed how when you have an ETF, you have a certain limit that you're allowed to have for each stock. And someone had pointed out that Cathie had mentioned in an interview that 10% is the most they're allowed to have. So in her portfolio where she's at, she's only allowed to have 10% max of a certain position. That includes Tesla. So when Tesla runs as much as it did, which was 32% over the month of July, when you get that much of a run, but the rest of your portfolio does not move that much, that means that you're going to be lopsided in Tesla. So perhaps she was just thinning it a little bit because she had to. Again, we don't know for sure, but again, we're looking at it in the past, that had been an indication that we were near the top. Again, we'll follow this because previously she did sell quite a bit. She sold a lot more shares after that as well. So we'll track how we go this week. And now my thoughts on the stock movement going into the annual shareholder meeting is we've got 4 days. The RSI right now is over 70. So that means it's overbought. Does not necessarily mean we have to sell off, but chances are we may see a little cooling off over the next couple of days, which would be good and healthy for the stock. So perhaps we get a little cooling off before we get some surprise news at the annual shareholder meeting, and then we pop. Now we are expecting at this meeting to get the 3-to-1 split approved by the shareholders. And then we have talked about it before, and we've talked about buybacks. So when it comes to buybacks, I've been paying attention to a lot of different information from you guys and your feelings on it. Gary Black and Stephen Mark Ryan had some information on it and their feelings. So when it comes down to the buybacks, some thoughts and analysts could be, well, if they're spending their money for buybacks, that must mean that they're in trouble because they don't have anything else to invest their money into and their future outlook isn't as strong. However, as Gary Black and Stephen Mark Ryan had pointed out, they have so much cash coming in, they don't want to just keep sticking it into a pile because that's not good either. So you've got to do something with your money. They already have set $6 to $8 billion worth of capex spending for the year. They're looking at $2 to $3 billion worth of free cash flow coming in for Q3, and probably more than that, probably exceeding $3 billion in free cash flow for Q4. That's a lot of money coming in that they really have, nothing that's already planned to spend their money on going. They already plan on doing this. So any factories that they have that are coming up, any things that are in the works, they have already worked that into their budget. All of this extra money is just going to be extra money that they need to do something with. For the last 7 quarters, they have been sitting between $15 and $20 billion in cash. So I don't know why, it's cash equivalents. They've been between that $15 to $20 billion range. So maybe there's a reason they're sitting there and all their extra cash flow can go to something else. Perhaps that something else could be buybacks. And so buybacks, as Gary Black had explained it, is great because they have a lot of agility that they can utilize with this. They can use it opportunistically, according to Gary Black. They can turn it on and off as needed. So if the stock pulls down below $700, they can turn the buybacks on heavier to bring the stock price up. If the stock price happens to go up to a level that, maybe they're not comfortable with, they can dial it down to bring those stock prices down. So this is something that Tesla can really use in their favor, and a buyback would really only affect their M&A, which is mergers and acquisitions, or their cash pile. So it's really not going to affect any other piece of their business, and it could be very beneficial. Now, a lot of companies will also take buybacks and utilize that as a way to get shares back in the company so that they can deploy those out for compensation packages. For instance, we have seen that with Kimball and with Elon and any other top executives or board members. We'd be able to utilize these shares for that manner. So perhaps by issuing more shares that we are going to see at the split at the annual shareholder meeting this Thursday, maybe some of those shares are going to be utilized in a manner for a buyback so that they can put them out for a compensation package in the future. And so I know conversations I had with many of you is I agreed with you. I would rather them use that money to invest in, factories, in future R&D and other things. But then going to what, Gary Black and Stephen Mark Ryan were talking about, that stuff already is basically paid for. That's already budgeted in for what they're looking for. So now we'll have some extra cash. So I agree, obviously the focus should be on the factories and the R&D and more production and development of other projects that they're working on. But if they're already paid for and we have the extra cash, now buybacks make absolute sense. So perhaps we will see them. I don't know if we're going to get that announcement, but this is one of the things that we had discussed as a potential catalyst to drive us to all-time highs. Because if they announce that, we could drive it higher. Now, of course, as Gary Black said, they could turn it on and off as needed, and perhaps all-time highs are not a stock price that they want to see yet. So maybe they won't turn it on as high to allow it to get there, but at least this gives them versatility and agility to be able to maneuver around the stock price as they feel fit. And perhaps this can be used as a way to out-manipulate the market manipulators who move the stock up and down. Could bring the beta down as well, as they would have the ability to kind of lessen the volatility of the stock and keep it flatter as need be. And so even if they don't do a buyback this time around, even if we don't hear about it at the annual shareholder meeting or any time this year, I have a feeling that is going to be coming in the future, just because looking at free cash flow and how much money they are going to have coming in, and the fact that they already have their plans set for what they're going to be investing in as far as new factories, and they have said that 6 to 8 billion, they said 5 to 7 billion, then increase it to 6 to 8 billion dollars of capex spending is where they're going to be at for the next couple of years. They're going to have a lot more cash coming in than that. So we are going to need something to spend that money on. So I have a feeling we're going to see something like buybacks coming at some point in the future. And thank you to everyone who was able to join us on the live stream yesterday. It was truly awesome because we hit 5,000 subscribers during the live stream. So I got to share that with all of you who are on there live. So it was awesome. So thank you all for all of your support. I was finally able to get into discussing gaps with you guys and breaking down how I find gaps, why they fill 9 out of 10 times, how to track them yourselves. And if you guys want to watch that, I do have that link down in the description below. I did timestamp the section where we did the gaps and discussed all of that. And then we had an unexpected long Q&A session after that, which was amazing. So thank you all for being over there. And live we did it because I hadn't checked recently as to what the new gaps are. So we currently have that 742.50 gap. And then there's also another that was created last week that goes down to $776. So again, as we discussed yesterday, gaps do fill that 9 out of 10 times. And where we're at right now, are we going to fill those too? Nobody knows. But looking at historically this year alone, Tesla has filled every single gap along the way. So lots of movements that we're looking at right now, with a lot of great catalysts coming up for the stock and the macro environment looking optimistic. So whether we pull back down to fill these gaps or not, I don't know. I am ready. I do have a buy order put in for $750 for 2 shares in my IRA if we do end up pulling down to that level again. But in the meantime, I'm going to continue my dollar cost averaging because it has done me very well over the course of this year. I am now extremely green on the stock because I was able to bring my cost basis down from $850 to $794 in my main portfolio. So very excited about that. And at this point, when it comes to the stock itself, we are looking for a consolidation. So again, the RSI is over 70. We have been on a massive run, which is awesome to see, but now it'll be nice to see maybe a little cooling off and a balancing. We need to find a support again. We have gone on many massive runs in the past where we scream up really high, really fast, and then eventually we crumble back down because we never stopped to find any support areas. So it would be nice to be able to find that this time around. We'll see what happens as we go forward. Long term, not concerned whatsoever. But it would be nice in tracking the near term to see us get to a consolidation point in the stock, especially at these higher levels, to find us a nice new higher range to trade in than we were before. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. What do you guys feel about the buybacks? I know we had many discussions, but today, coming up with some new information from Gary Black and Stephen Mark Ryan makes me believe that a buyback is actually a good idea. So let me know again your thoughts in the comments on that, and let me know how you think the stock is going to trade this week and what surprises we may get at the annual shareholder meeting on Thursday. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support and feedback. If you have not subscribed, please do so down below. Sign yourself up for notifications. I am over on Twitter at OracleTim1. I share all the latest Tesla news, pertinent stock market information, and all of my daily trades. We do have a Discord chat. That link is down in the description. And if you'd like to support the channel any further, you can join us over on Patreon. That link is also in the description. Thank you so much. Have a great one.